So it all really boils down to one massive question that's echoing across the globe right now. Is America entering a completely new political phase? This isn't just your standard everyday partisan bickering anymore. We're actually witnessing an era where intense economic strain is violently colliding with a deeply fractured society. It leaves all of us asking, where is the country actually headed? Literally every single governmental decision nowadays creates this immediate, massive national impact, leaving both the public and politicians raising some major alarms about the country's direction. To unpack this whole fractured superpower dynamic today, we're going to look at three core pillars. First up, the economic reality. Second, America's global standing. And third, the fractured politics defining the nation right now.
All right, kicking things off with part one, the economic struggle and the undeniable pressure on the middle class.
Whenever we talk about high-level national politics, we have to remember it fundamentally comes down to real people, right? Look at the modern American dilemma. On one side of the equation, you have the crushing weight of rising costs. Groceries, fuel, housing, they're just relentlessly climbing. Budgeting for an average middle-class family has basically shifted from being just a tricky task to a nearly impossible one. Now, on the flip side, the only real current relief is a relatively stable job market. But let's be honest, having a job doesn't exactly feel like a major victory when your paycheck barely covers the bare essentials. This intense financial anxiety is putting political leaders into a really impossible corner, and the pressure on them to somehow deliver economic stability is just skyrocketing.
Moving on to our second pillar, global standing, foreign policy and wars.
Stepping beyond domestic borders, America's historical dominance on the world stage is under some pretty unforgiving scrutiny right now. With tensions and conflicts erupting worldwide, there's actually a stark, almost paralyzing divide domestically over how to handle them. On one hand, a large segment of the public firmly supports a really robust military and diplomatic approach, seeing it as absolutely essential to keep global stability. But then, you have a loud and rapidly growing counter-movement that looks at those exact same policies and sees them as recklessly high-risk and unsustainably expensive. There's virtually zero consensus on how the superpower should actually wield its influence abroad, making literally every single foreign policy move a lightning rod for controversy.
And that brings us to section 3, fractured politics and a nation divided.
If there's one single word that defines the modern American experience today, it's division. The political climate isn't just background noise anymore, it's an active daily battleground. People hold fiercely uncompromising opinions. Just look online. Social media platforms have practically become these inescapable 24/7 gladiator arenas, and they're heavily fueled by news networks dissecting every single micro-action the government takes. The whole discourse has reached an absolute fever pitch, with citizens and analysts relentlessly battling over policies across pretty much every platform you can think of. And this fever pitch really crystallizes around specific political figures. Take Donald Trump, for example, who remains a constant, deeply polarizing force in the national dialogue. We see a populace that is fundamentally split right down the middle. One side offers massive, unwavering support for his policies and wants to see his continued influence on the nation's trajectory. Meanwhile, the other side delivers fierce, continuous criticism of those exact same stances. We're pointing this out just to highlight a stark reality. The middle ground has effectively vanished. Figures like this basically act as mirrors, reflecting a nation entirely torn on what its very future should look like. Now, let's look at section 4, the impact on daily life, or what we're calling the microclimax. So, what does all this mean for you and me? How does this high-level chaos actually trickle down to the average person? Well, it essentially forces ordinary citizens into a defensive posture. It usually starts with cautious spending, because, with all this economic and political instability looming, consumers intuitively pull back their wallet at the register. And that naturally leads right into careful saving, basically hoarding resources for anticipated hard times ahead. Ultimately, it results in highly hesitant future planning. Whether it's a family pausing on buying a new home or a small business freezing their expansion plans, this huge macro-political paralysis has effectively stalled the everyday microeconomic engines of the entire country. Which leads us to our final part, section 5, the turning point and what lies ahead.
Everything we've talked about brings us to a truly historic turning point. The sheer combination of heavy economic strain, hotly contested foreign policy, and a deeply fractured society has pushed America into the ultimate stress test. I mean, the stakes have literally never been higher. The coming months are going to be absolutely crucial. We're all basically waiting to see if this immense pressure can somehow be managed and converted back into some form of national stability, or if these fractures are just going to deepen permanently. We are quite literally watching a historical pivot happen in real time.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question, the big one that every single voter and global observer is asking today. Based on the harsh economic realities, the intense global scrutiny, and these really deep domestic divides, is America actually heading in the right direction, or is a profound systemic change absolutely necessary right now? Take a moment and really reflect on what we've unpacked in today's explainer, because honestly, the answer to that question is going to shape the world for decades to come. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.